In DC, for DC. DC Radio, 96.3 HD4 and DCRadio.gov.
Hello, friends, and welcome to Cannabis Conversations, where each week I bring you the news and all that's happening in the world of cannabis with a huge variety of intriguing guests, ranging from local small business owners to national and international industry magnates in this growing industry. We delve into the hows, the whys, and the how-tos of cannabis. I hope this platform is educational and enlightening to you, satisfying your curiosity and expanding your knowledge of cannabis. Cannabis Conversations is made possible by Mayor Muriel Bowser, the Director of Office of Cable, Television, Film, Music, and Entertainment, Angie Gates, and the Director of Radio, Max Myrick, and his awesome staff, especially Shane Lewis. You can listen to the show Monday through Friday on 96.3 HD4, DCRadio.gov, and SoundCloud at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm your host, Linda Mercado Greene, and this is Cannabis Conversations. So today I'm just smiling from ear to ear. Because I have someone who is that I consider my son. I have, if you know me, I have a lot of children that I have adopted along the way. And my son, that is with me today, is a graduate of Howard University. You probably can tell that I can't get away from these bisons around here. HU. He's also Federal Program Manager of Research and Development for the U.S. Department of Energy since 2010 and manages a portfolio of over $200 million with a staff of over 100. That's awesome. He is the founder of Entravation LLC, and I'm going to let him talk about that. And he is also the chair of the Minority Cannabis Business Association, a.k.a. MCBA, which I served on the board, and actually was my entree to meet my guest, my son, my pride and joy, Todd Hughes.
Wow.
Welcome, sweetheart.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored, like I said, honored to be here and have the opportunity to sit down with you. So that was...
I'm even more honored to have you here. I had you a sidekick,
You
the
put
other
it
half
together.
of you, a few months ago, Brandon Wyatt. And
superhero.
I didn't want to do the both of you together because that's too much for anybody to handle.
Too much heat.
My other son, Brandon. Attorney.
Brandon Wyatt, decorated Army veteran.
Yes.
What'd he say? Hoorah. That's what he would say.
Hoorah, yeah.
That's what he would
exactly.
say. Yeah.
Exactly. These are my two loves, and we met. I can't remember exactly how we met. As someone, you guys called me. You found me. Yeah.
We heard you were doing amazing things. And I think we were talking to Mr. Farrakhan about the Million Man March.
Yes.
And somebody mentioned you, and you were getting into space, and you joined MCBA, and I said, I have to meet her.
Yeah.
Even though she's my mom, I have to meet her.
We won't go there, right?
Right. And so we sat down, and when we talked, you know, I was blown away about your history.
I think we met for tea. It was
Italian
a late
food.
tea. Yeah, we were supposed to be having a soft drink.
Yeah, tea, exactly.
And I think we were there for like 4 hours after that.
You took me to the coolest spot in
Trattoria Alberto on Barracks Row.
There it is. See,
Yes.
I can't even remember, but she remembers everything. Jesus. She turns 25 this year, y'all.
Yes,
Just
on
letting you know.
Friday, the 24th, 25 on 24.
Quick shout out, Anacostia Organics 1 year anniversary is on that same day, so make sure you come through. Hit them with the address.
Now, listen, I'm the one that always shout out. No, you can go on 2022 Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue Southeast.
There it is. Show up, 11 to 8.
So, we really became family. And I remember the times when I was under the weather with a really bad cold, and they were calling nonstop, would not let me rest. The next thing I know, they showed up with soup and juices and all types of fruit and everything. These guys, I love you with all my heart. But let's talk about you, because I want to focus on you, Todd. My first question is, and I think a lot of people would say, how does a research and development program manager at the U.S. Department of Energy become a cannabis activist and business developer in the industry?
Wow.
How did that happen? Yeah.
Man?
Did you ever see it coming?
Jesus. No. I was a kid that always followed the straight and narrow. My pops is a police officer in Pittsburgh. My mom delivered boxes for FedEx for like 30 years.
Oh, my gosh.
Right? Walking up steps and all that.
Yeah.
So I'm happy she's retired. He's retired.
Good.
So they're both safe at the house. And they were against, they were dare, kind of folks, against drugs, against do-rags, tattoos, earrings, anything that was popular
really
culture.
Straight-laced. You grew up straight-laced.
Right. And if I got a B one time and he ripped my TV out. Dad, thanks. I remember that. I was probably about 12, right? He ripped the TV out the wall.
It made an impact, didn't it?
Yeah. And so from there, I was just athletics and education. And so got a scholarship to play football at Howard University, was there. And I always knew, Howard was a great place for connecting new people and all that, but it wasn't necessarily a place where you're going to go to NFL straight out of, out of school.
Right, out of school, right.
So I always had a backup, and that was engineering. And so I did mechanical engineering for the 4 years I was there, and got picked up by a person of color at the Department of Energy. Not a lot of people
It's not that many people. That's what I was going to say.
And I was his first intern.
Oh.
And so while I was there, the story's coming to a point, I promise.
I know it will. I've been through your stories many times, but not this one.
Yeah, so while I was there, he encouraged me to get my master's and PhD and all that stuff. So I could be considered the same level as the peers that I would be working with. Right.
And so I understand.
He offered to pay for it, and so I went to the University of Maryland for the master's and then PhD
so he
at
offered
GW.
to pay for it?
Oh yeah.
Oh my.
Well, through the government, taxpayer dollar. Y'all pay for it. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, taxpayers.
Fantastic. But even for him to even make you aware that that was even possible to do is remarkable.
By the way, Dr. Kevin Greene is the first African-American PhD in nuclear physics from the University of Maryland.
Stop.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you gave him a shout out, because he needs it, and we need to know people like him.
Exactly. So I appreciate him for everything he's done. So in that time period, since I went to Howard, one of the students that was there got kicked out for less than an ounce, I'll say, in his room on campus. So he lost student financial aid, housing, opportunities for jobs.
Less than an ounce.
All of that.
All of it. Down the drain.
Which is now legal in D.C. to have. I mean, it might not be legal on a dry campus, but he was kicked out. And I happened to see him. He looked kind of down and out. I said, "What's going on?" He told me, and I said, "All right, well, you can stay on my couch. How about that?" But you ain't doing none of that drug stuff in my house, right? So he basically said, "No, but it's not just the drug. It's everything." And I'm like, what is everything? And he's like, there's research in Israel. There's doctors that shown it heals cancer. My mom had cancer, and it could have helped her with her appetite when she wasn't eating. And she died from this rare disease that came about because of chemotherapy, but not because of, it could have been helped with cannabis or soothe her through that process. And I was like, oh, and he showed me Charlotte's Web and this little girl having seizures.
Yes.
And, all of that, led me to say, okay, we got to do something about it. And me and Attorney Wyatt, being academics, we said, what if we created a thesis statement rather than, just doing an event or starting a business in the space? We wanted to create a thesis. How could we change cannabis policy through the arts? And that's when we started Dope Fest, Don't Oppress People Ever Music Festival.
Brilliant.
So it was here, Echo Stage, Wiz Khalifa, Snoop Dogg.
I remember that.
DPA, MPP.
Didn't know anybody
Shout out
involved.
to them. Right. Shout out to all of them. Normal.
Yeah.
We did a major business conference called the Bud Summit, Business Understanding Development Summit. We had Hot Box with Shanita Penny. She's the one that ran it. And we had 5 investors and over 35 people pitching their cannabis ideas and businesses. We worked with Adam Eidinger in the DC MJ.
Give me a timeline on this.
13, 14, 15.
Oh, my gosh.
And then that we met up with Jesse, who is my fraternity brother. Jesse Horton.
Jesse Horton.
Shout out to the Q Dogs. Jesse Horton. He started this wonderful organization called the Minority Cannabis Business Association, and I just wanted to help out any way I could. So I went and got heat. I went and got food. I went and got whatever they needed because I wasn't really too involved in the industry to be able to support, with my intellectual insight.
Yes.
At the first policy summit where they wrote their model bill.
I remember that.
Right. And so
I got involved with MCBA. We're in 2020, 16. 2016, or maybe the end of 2015. In 2015?
Yeah.
When did it start?
It started in 15.
It started in 15, so it was a year old when I got involved.
Yeah. And so, I went and got propane and food, and I sat in and I contributed where I could based off of this whole new thing that was the cannabis industry, and I was still coming up to speed. But in 2013, I started Entravation after that thesis statement.
Well, I didn't realize Entravation was that old.
Yeah.
I was thinking it was something relatively new with you guys.
No, so Entravation has been around since 2013. Entrepreneurship Innovation.
Talk about that. Yeah.
It's a business accelerator in DC. It's not the typical accelerator. If you think about a typical accelerator, it's we put out applications, people apply, they come, they get a certain amount of money, they go through some classes on business like finance and business law, so forth and so on. They create a product, they create a business, they pitch it to investors, and they go off, right?
Right.
Those are okay, but it's more of, I'll call it robotic. It's kind of cookie cutter.
Yes.
And so what our company was created for, specifically for the first person that we serviced was the young man who got kicked out of school, who I won't say his name. But,
yes.
my goal was to help our friends monetize their talents.
Oh.
Monetize their talents.
I love it.
And I was tired of seeing starving artists.
Yes.
I was tired of seeing Black people of color, I'll say, without, I'll say, access to knowledge, access to capital, and a new industry that was just growing, was just coming out of nowhere. I couldn't believe that. I still can't believe that the industry is where it is right now.
Yeah.
Starting from back then.
Right.
So our company started in cannabis, doing business events and music festivals. So shout out to Carolyn for the National Cannabis Fest, which came after, and so forth. And so from there, we spun off into clients that are in government contracting, right? And we learned that space. Okay. And I think, one of my clients, Rashad Howard, he says something, business is my activism, right? He's like, why not take government dollars and hire my people to service and learn and integrate into these opportunities within the government? Other people do it.
That's true. That is so true.
Why not empower other people?
Right.
To get things done. So that was beautiful. And then the other one is real estate. So working with the Banks Group. They're
yes.
Exit
I
Realty.
think I've heard about them through you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So
yes.
we're flipping houses. We're doing a lot of different things, and so it's been really great outside of cannabis, right? And that allows me to invest and fund my philanthropy work, is what I call MCBA.
Well, we have to be multidimensional. And one of the things I learned from, my former husband, who was, one of the top Black businessmen back in the 70s and 80s, was always diversify. Diversify your business, diversify. Don't do just one thing, because anything could happen.
Indeed.
But if you have these other businesses, then, you can feed up on that.
Yeah, and even at MJ Biz, I was on stage for the Minority Cannabis Luncheon.
Yes.
And
I was there front row.
I seen you. You and Miss Macias Bobo.
I was sitting
She was
right
out there. Shout out Shonda.
Yeah, Shonda.
And so someone asked a question, or they posed a question about diversity in cannabis. And so it's interesting enough, how do we increase the level of diversity to insulate, right? To ensure that relevant ideas and concepts are brought in so that companies can survive. Because if they don't understand the market, they don't understand the people they're dealing with, especially in adult use space.
That's right.
You want somebody who's from those areas where you're servicing to be a part of your organization, to diversify your thought.
That's true.
So that's something big to me, and hopefully we can increase that, especially with these multi-state operators and folks coming through.
Which are just gobbling up everything.
Oh, that was a question.
That was I was saying you mentioned MSOs, and it's going to be very hard for small mom and pop cannabis entrepreneurs like myself to survive. I mean,
that's what we're here to fight for, though.
That's right.
If you think about Arizona, they're coming up, right? They're coming up, and there's an opportunity there, right? Because MSOs have their eyes on Arizona, and the really interesting thing is the state government has the opportunity right now to say, well, I'm going to force multi-state operators to work through and with people who are from Arizona. They could also say people who live or from Arizona, and people with prior convictions or prior nonviolent cannabis drug offenses. Yes. And people who have been disproportionately impacted by the war on drugs. I'm going to force any major company that wants to come in here to work through them. And that person's going to have 51% ownership.
At least. I think in Illinois it's 60%, isn't it?
Okay, yes.
I think it's 60% in Illinois.
Even better.
Yeah.
Even better.
Yeah, because it's easy to do a 51%, type thing, and it's not really...
Exactly.
So, yeah.
So if Arizona hears this, listen, and, I said it first.
Yeah, you did.
Actually, I stole that from one of my friends, but I can't shout him out yet. But he knows who he is, and I'll shout him out on the next time.
Let's talk about MCBA a little bit, because I was on the board for 3 years. Jesse, actually Kayvon Katlabari, who's also on my advisory board.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, but Kayvon flew in and met me.
Shout out to Cuba.
He's in Cuba right now. See, yeah, he's everywhere.
Crazy.
The sexy pizza and Denver Relief.
Right.
I think he's divested of all the cannabis businesses now, though.
Yeah, he's probably sold them.
He's probably done doing something else.
He has about his signature line is about 30 different businesses.
Exactly. And then Jesse. I met Jesse.
Oh, yeah.
And they convinced me to get on the board, and that was one of the best things I ever did.
Oh, yeah.
And just to be on a board where people of color, males, females, and from various industries, from CPAs, legal, to writing proposal applications. I mean, our board is very diverse. And look at
so.
Judge Shelley, retired judge.
You
got to give Shelley a shout out. Judge Shelley was one of the co-founders of MCBA.
She's amazing.
And so that was my my support and my encouragement to keep going, to keep going, to keep going.
Look, I'm proud of you.
And look,
I'm
thank you.
proud of you,
MCBA played a huge
way you
role
made
in
it.
that. I want you to know.
Understood.
So I want to talk about what is MCBA doing now and how people can join.
Oh, yeah.
Just you're the new chair.
Yeah,
I
chair
can't
of the
believe
board.
it.
Yeah, so
you are chair of the
minoritycannabis.org.
board.
Yeah.
Todd.
Yeah.
Yes.
I
love it.
I was honored that they even Brandon nominated me and fought for me. But
Yes.
I'm actually a co-chair with Jasmine Aguiar. She's in LA, so I'm the East Coast chair. She's the West Coast chair.
Fantastic.
And we work together to raise
That makes
money.
a lot of sense.
You know,
to have the co-chairs like that.
Yeah, it just makes sense.
Yeah.
And we wanted to have more. Wanted to make sure that we had a diverse representation, and so it can't be all guys, can't be all girls. Let's just figure it out, right? And we came to a healthy balance, and we work really well together. But for MCBA, our website is minoritycannabis.org. You might want to get in now because we're changing the membership structure, which will increase costs in the future, just so we can make a better impact on the community. So we can, get our lobbying efforts going, so we can continue to fundraise, so we can get work done with regards to mentorship, business acceleration. I don't know if you heard this year, we did the I2 Accelerator with Merida Capital.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
So
because I'm a member, so I still get
Yeah.
everything. Yeah. I had to get off the board because of my workload and getting it once I got the license.
But surprise,
but I'm
surprise, you're still on the board. So we just voted on it, and I'm just going to let it out.
Right.
So advisory board.
I'll do that.
So all of our past board members
Okay.
and anybody
I
who
love
comes in at the top tier
Yes.
Level will be on our advisory
Fantastic.
board. That will meet quarterly.
That's an honor.
right.
That's an
And
honor.
it's an honor to have you.
It's an honor.
It's an honor to have you on there.
Most definitely.
So what are we doing this year? So
Lobby Day is coming up, I know.
Lobby Days and is going to be in April. We have a policy summit coming up soon in February. Details for members. When you join membership, we'll send it out and get you on board. And there's something, the Opportunity Summit is coming up again as well. I know Kaiwan was...
You did that in Colorado.
Right.
Yes.
It's going to be in Colorado again.
Yes.
I was thinking about Chicago, but I think
Colorado's
it's good
a good place
good
for
to do
it.
it in that central location.
Yeah.
And I can't say yet who we're partnering with.
Yeah.
It's super big, but
That's
we're creating
excellent.
an executive MBA-like program
Wonderful.
for people in the cannabis space and people who want to get into the cannabis space, because you'll see that people that operate in cannabis may not have, the formal business
That is true.
education, mergers and acquisitions, finance, how to manage your balance sheet, how to HR.
That is true.
Diversity, social equity. What does that mean?
Yeah.
And these aren't just for people of color. This is for everybody. So that's what our next Opportunity Summit is going to be, June 13th, 14th. It's going to be 4 or 5 days
It's
in
a good
Colorado.
time to be in Colorado, too.
Yeah.
I love it.
June, perfect
I love
time.
Denver. I love it. I love it.
Shout out to Brandon Banks, the chair of the Economic Empowerment Committee.
Yes, give him my
He's
love. I have to
running
call
that.
Brandon.
All right.
I haven't spoken with him in about a year.
Okay.
So I have to get back on board with that, because he was very instrumental to me, and I could just pick up the phone and ask him anything at any time. So
He divested a little bit and got some good exits, I'll call it,
yes,
out of a couple companies. He's doing quite well.
I'm going to tell you, it's a rock star team. It's a rock star team.
He shows you the right way to do it. So all you business owners out there, if you have a cannabis license right now, and someone comes and asks you to purchase the license, say yes, and then say, I'm keeping equity in the company. Just a little bit. Never know.
You never know. That's true.
And so that's the smartest thing you could possibly do. I was just talking to Russell Simmons.
Yes.
But out of all people, Russell
Yes,
Simmons,
yes,
right? And he said,
yes.
I wish that I would have kept equity in all those companies that I sold.
That's right.
Look at them.
That's
They're multi-billion-dollar companies, and I got good money out of it.
I mean, that's really, really good advice. You get a lot of money out of it and you still retain some ownership. Exactly, because it is your baby after all, and you still want to, to be there for it. So before we go, because time is winding down, this just goes way, way, way too quick. What is your forecast as the chair of MCBA with all the legislation in Congress right now in regards to cannabis? Do you think we're going to get the MORE Act through? I know
slow and steady wins the race.
True. But they've assigned it to so many committees, and I understand that those committees are now, some people are relinquishing and saying, I'm going to,
I'm going to be quite honest.
Some of the members, yeah.
Yeah, some folks may disagree, but slow and steady wins the race. And so I would be okay if they deferred it until the policies are just right. The MORE Act
does need work.
Right. The MORE Act in itself is awesome. It'd be great to have. Now, reality sets in. You have Republicans, Democrats, House, Senate, and a lot of people that have to come together on the same page and agree on a act that is on a policy that's more on the, I'll call it extreme side, which is good. And I want it to come through, and we're going to push the fight to get it to come through. The thing that I'm most nervous about is things like the States Act. I love the States Act.
As a small business, as an entrepreneur, as a licensee, I need that.
You want DC.
I need it.
You want Maryland to be able to decide.
Yes.
But B-U-T, really big but. I like big. No, I'm joking.
No.
It came out.
That's okay. This is my show. It came out. He's not talking about mine, by the way.
But seriously, the but is
Todd.
We want to make sure that there's regulations in place, that cannabis is descheduled, and that people of color, people who've been disproportionately impacted by the war on drugs, have access to money, the knowledge, network, and capital. I'll call it that. Knowledge, network, and capital, so that they can rightfully enter this market in a fair and just way. And so that's the only gripe I have with the States Act. And the safe banking, I would say, let's push it through. Let's push it through. I feel like it's amenable
one that's
to
most
everyone.
promising right now.
So, yeah.
So I'm just going to spend 30 seconds asking you something. So who is Todd? What do you do on your downtime?
Hang out with my wife and daughter. And she would say I don't have much downtime because I have so many business ventures going. But I read.
Good. What's at your bedside?
Bedside. Why should white guys have all the fun? Reginald Lewis.
I love it. I love it.
Notes from a Native Son, James Baldwin.
James Baldwin, right? Yes.
Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice.
I read that constant. That was my first business book.
So you got Napoleon Hill, but you also have Dennis Kimbrough, Professor Dennis Kimbrough, and people kind of forget about him. And Linchpin by Seth Godin.
Okay.
And so how do you become indispensable is the subtitle of that book.
Okay, I like that. I have to get that one. And so I want to really, really thank you for coming today. So you'll have to come back and keep updating us on MCBA and Entrevation and, all these other things, because I want everybody to get involved as much as possible. Finally, what is your how can people get in touch with you?
You can email me at thughes@entrevation, entrevation.com, or just find me on LinkedIn.
There we go.
Send me a LinkedIn message or Instagram. I am Entrevation. The last thing I would say is MCBA this year is making inroads in Latin America and in Africa.
I love it.
So those are some major things.
That gets me super excited again.
Some things that we're doing. So those are the two major programs we're working to develop at the moment.
Great.
So,
well, thank you, Todd. I love you.
thank you.
And
love you
I
more.
really impossible.
Gotta give Mama Green a fur,
I really
y'all.
want to thank you for being here with us, and I also want to thank my wonderful staff at Anacostia Organics and my personal producer, Tamia Harper. In this new decade, let's strive for greatness with gratitude and grace. How about that? Please visit me at Anacostia Organics 2022. Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue Southeast in the District of Columbia, which is the 51st state. We happily accept patients with medical marijuana cards from any state in the United States and Puerto Rico 7 days a week. And you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Our website is anacostiaorganics.com. From deep within my heart, baby boy. I thank you for being here, and I thank my listening audience for tuning in today.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
In DC, for DC, DC Radio, 96.3 HD4, and DCRadio.gov.